Do we need to step in? Do we need to regulate?
Raskin has introduced a bill, I believe as of today, which would crack down and completely prohibit prediction markets pertaining to, and you can probably help me with some of this, but political events.
Political events.
Sports.
Yeah, sports just got thrown in there too as well, which it seemed pretty all-encompassing. And the only reason I threw in weather is because you told me right off the bat, I didn't realize there was a whole market where you could bet on what the weather was going to do.
Yeah, and you know, no shade to Fox 5's wonderful meteorologists, but you'll get some of the best weather predictions and forecasts coming in different local markets on places like Polymarket and Kalshi. And, you know, my wife is deeply ensconced in the weather community as an atmospheric scientist herself. And all of those forecasters put their money where their mouth is when it comes to what's going to happen on those platforms. You can get a lot of important information and signals about what is going to happen in the world on these markets. And I think that there's something wrong with Raskin's proposal because it freezes all of these really valid ways to understand what is going to happen in the country. Why is it not a valid economic interest to move money based on how an election is going to come out? Everything about the country and the economy hinges on who is in charge of it. That seems like a perfectly legitimate thing for anybody who does trading to bet on. And even when it comes to war and peace, you know, trading oil futures is a proxy bet on how matters are going to be going in the Middle East.
And that's been happening for years, for decades, for centuries.
If you think there's going to be tension in Taiwan, you don't put money into Taiwan semiconductors because you think that that's not going to be a good trade. And that is a proxy bet, not that you're wishing for war to occur, but that war might occur. I think that there's a little bit of an over-dramatization here about people putting their thumb on the scale for certain outcomes when it comes to war and peace.
So the companies have been fighting back. They've been saying, look, these are regulated platforms. We follow the letter of the law. In Nevada, they're trying to outlaw, I believe Kalshi is their first target here. You know, but the reality is it enough to trust the companies to self-regulate themselves? Because when you look at DraftKings, FanDuel, these are falling under a lot of state regulatory commissions. Is there a reason that these companies should be trusted to police themselves?
Well, I think there is reason to trust that they want to police themselves. You've seen just in the past week, Kalshi announced that they are going to prohibit people who are running for office from participating in these markets, as well as athletes. And they have a pretty sophisticated way of actually tracking people's accounts and making, you know, intuitive guesses on who they are when they're trading. One of Mr. Beast's employees went down and was fined by Kalshi and reported to the CFTC for trading on his boss's videos and certain outcomes of the videos on the Mr. Beast YouTube channel. I believe
when he said certain words, there was some wagering on the words that he would say.
Yeah, mentions markets. So what are people going to say? But, you know, there's all sorts of suspicious activity that occur in these markets. But my reaction to that is there is suspicious and untoward activity that occurs on the internet every single day, and we don't just turn it off because people act inappropriately. And we also don't just stop the stock market because people break the law. You go after the people who break the law, you bust inside traders, you humiliate them in front of the entire public, and you make sure that there is no incentive for people to do this. It's too expensive and too risky.
This is not the last discussion we're going to have with us. Certainly not the last discussion I had with you. Great to see you, Steve.
Thanks, Jim.
We appreciate you, as always.